This is a video lesson for day 2 of solving rational functions. We're going to be taking a look at basically the same concept. It really isn't much different from yesterday. We're just going to do it with a little bit harder problems. So we're taking a look at a function like this, and you can see I have binomials in the denominator. You can see a couple things hopefully standing out right away that you're going to have to factor those two. The right side is a conjugate factoring. This one is where you take out a negative to switch it around into x minus 2. So first thing we do, we're going to factor that right denominator, x plus 2, x minus 2. Now it may look like we have 3 separate denominators, and this paragraph here explains all of this if you want to read it. But we don't, because we know we can flip this 2 minus x around into x minus 2. So what happens is I take the negative out, I put it in front with the negative or the minus sign that's already there, and that turns it positive. And then that will turn the order around from 2 minus x into x minus 2. So what we see is that I do have just 2 binomials for a common denominator, x plus 2 and x minus 2, x plus 2, x minus 2. So the common denominator is x plus 2 and x minus 2. So we're going to take that and multiply each term by that. So we multiply both sides by x plus 2, x minus 2, but really what that means is each individual term, 1 over x plus 2 gets multiplied by the common denominator, and you can see the x plus 2's will cancel, leaving x minus 2 times 1, or x minus 2. In the second fraction, x minus 2's would cancel, leaving x plus 2 times x times x plus 2. When I distribute, that's x squared plus 2x. And on the right side, both factors cancel, so I have x plus 6 left. I'm going to set this equal to 0, so I have x squared. First we combine like terms, so x plus 2x makes 3x, and we move the minus 2 to the end. And then when I set it equal to 0, I'm going to minus x over and minus 6 over. 3x minus x is 2x, negative 2 minus 6 is minus 8. So this is easily factorable. It's going to be x plus 4 and x minus 2, which means when I do zero product property, I get negative 4 and 2. Now we need to check that to make sure that it works. And what we find out is that I have a denominator of x plus 2 and x minus 2. So 2 is a restriction, because if I plug 2 in for x in this denominator, 2 minus 2 would give me 0 in the denominator. We talked about restrictions before. Really, restrictions are nothing more than telling you what the domain can't be. The domain for these, which we haven't really talked about, is all real numbers. Every number works, except x cannot be certain numbers that give you 0 in the denominator. Those numbers are negative 2 and positive 2 for this denominator, and since one of my answers is one of the restrictions, x equals 2 cannot be an answer since it's a restriction. The answer is just x equals negative 4. I did one other one real quick that involved the GCF. Not all of them are just regular factoring. Once in a while you have to do a GCF also, and has several components to it. So in this first denominator, I took out a 3, which means that I have an x minus 3 being shared between two of them. But my common denominator also consists of a 3 and an x. So I have 3, an x, and an x minus 3. So I'm going to multiply each term by that common denominator. So when I multiply the first fraction by 3x and x minus 3, the x minus 3's cancel, and the 3's cancel. So I'm left with this x and this x. X times x makes x squared. When I do it in the second one, the only thing that cancels is the x. So I'm left with a minus 3 times x minus 3 times 9. Well, 9 and 3 make 27. So I'm going to combine those, multiply those together. 3 times 9, 27 distributed makes negative 27 plus 81. Watch your signs. In the last one, the x minus 3 cancels, and I have 1 times 3x, or just 3x. So what I have now is a quadratic. So I'm going to set this equal to 0 by by subtracting 3x over. Negative 27 minus 3x is minus 30. 81 is the number that I'm going to factor out. I'm going to factor that into 27 and 3. 27 times 3 makes 81, which also combines to 30. So I get two answers, 27 and 3. But again, 3 is a restriction because my denominator had x minus 3 in it. So 3 cannot be an answer since it is a restriction. So the answer is just 27. Make sure you get on and do the practice problems.